I made a video a few months ago about two events that took place with me. I'm not a person who likes to harp on anti-Semitism. I'm a person who likes to focus on positive things. I don't even like the term anti-Semitism. I think it's a misnomer. It was really invented by the left to separate Judaism from its religious roots and try to turn it into some kind of a racial group, which is, first of all, it's an anachronistic view, and it's also a heretical view, and it's offensive on many levels. So this idea that it's as opposed to me, the more accurate term would be anti-Judaism, anti-Torah, anti-God. And really, in a way, I think a lot of the anti-Christian sentiment of the left comes from the same roots as what we call today anti-Semitism, colloquially. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the point of what I want to say. I had made a video just documenting something that took place in a particular place, that I was harassed twice, most likely by the same person. I don't recall exactly if it was the same person, most likely the same person. Filed a police report about it. Hadn't heard back after the police report, but that was it. Now, I don't want it to be painting. I'm not painting the whole community based on this one individual. However, I would hope that members of the community would call out this one or two individuals who I encountered and who other people have encountered. A lot of people have been commenting on that video. So again, I've been several other times in the same community where I met very nice people, and I go out of my way to be friendly and nice. I remember at the same ShopRite I was there, and it was one of the cashiers. He was talking to his manager about how he was hoping he could get the day off for Easter, and they were saying, "I'm not sure," this and that. And I told him, I said, I hope you get the day off, and really, if there's something I could do, let me know. And he said, that means a lot to hear that, especially from you, Rabbi. And I think that's the proper way we should be good neighbors. Essentially, all the libertarian ideas that the Hasidic community seeks out would be to better everybody's life. We're not trying to get around things just for us. It's really, as I feel, we don't have any problem with everybody else doing the same things. There's no reason why there shouldn't be, a Baptist Kiryas Joel or a Hindu Kiryas Joel. This is America. This is really what America's about. This is really what federalism is about. What freedom of religion is about. And we're my feeling is it's an issue of freedom, more than anything, and freedom for everybody, not just for our group, but what's good for one is good for everybody. That's my feeling. And again, like we said, different people have different views and different approaches about these issues. That being said, so it's the same thing with education questions, all kinds of issues. So people have said, well, people answer back, you should just stay where the guy, he said to me, go back to Muncie, and he cursed to me, you're not welcome here. This is what I was told by this person who was harassing me. And so I just put that out there for the record. It should be on record that this is what's going on. So if you're a member of that community and you disagree with this person, you should let it be known. If you agree with this person, you should let it be known. But then, people say, like tit for tat, like, well, what happens when someone who's not Jewish goes to New Square, to Monsey, to Kiryas Joel, so forth? I said, what happens? Tell me what happens. I heard one story about someone who was acting somewhat suspiciously, probably looking to make a point, make a statement. I'm not saying that they were doing anything illegal or wrong, but they were looking to make trouble, it would seem. And they said, when they were approached by the authorities, by police authorities, just simply asking for their ID, they refused to give their ID. And they said, well, I don't have to give you an ID. Well, you don't have to give the ID, but you also then, you don't have to do anything, but then we can't help you unless you do, if the person wound up getting arrested, because, if he just would have shown his ID, it would, oh, thank you, and move along, and that's it, And that's the worst story he could tell, was that, he came in, he was curious, he wanted to see that, he claims, so why didn't he show the ID? He was really being a punk by not showing the ID, I reached out to this person. I said, if you'd like to visit Kiryas Joel, I'd love to give you a tour. And he said, well, I shouldn't have to show my ID. So he wasn't interested in a tour of Kiryas Joel. He wasn't interested in seeing the community. He was interested in making a statement and being a punk, and that's his right. And it's also his, he was arrested and let out, but it wasn't a big deal. But I didn't see this firsthand. I'm just reacting to a video I saw. And you don't see the people defending or reacting like this to his video. But what I did see with my own eyes, which I think is a big statement about Kiryas Joel. Because I wasn't doing anything offensive. I was just going to the grocery store, picking up a few things. In fact, I think one of the times I was harassed, I specifically wore a baseball cap to not offend the local sensibilities. And there's a time and a place for that. Even though they asked Reverend Victor Miller or something like that, I can see a time and a place for that, even though he said, no, you should never wear a baseball cap. I wasn't even wearing a record, just had a shirt and a baseball cap. Why should I? That's neither here nor there. So I went out of my way really to be respectful to the local community, to be respectful of the local culture, even though being like where I work, where it's a multicultural setting, I feel that to represent my position as a chaplain, specifically as a rabbi, I should wear rabbinical garb. But going to ShopRite, I don't necessarily have to. That's also part of, a major reason why I personally, a lot of people ask, well, why would a balabas dress in Hasidic garb, which is not necessarily rabbinical garb, although it's similar, and many rabbis do dress in that way. But why would a businessman, someone dress like this? Well, I'm not a businessman. I'm a member of the clergy. I'm a rabbi. So me personally, I can't speak for other people, and I don't really encourage people who do not grow up in the Hasidic community and who are not part of the Hasidic community, who are not in the rabbinate, to dress in the Hasidic dress. But I wear it mainly, personally, because my profession as a rabbi. And I know a lot of people will feel that that's not the reason to wear it. Of course, most rabbis don't necessarily dress like this, but I'm old-fashioned, and that's just my approach. I'm not saying all rabbis should dress like a rabbi, I appreciate, even though I had my personal issues with Rabbi Lerner, I appreciate the fact that when he brought collared out of jail on a baseball cap, and often he does so, and he should have told Pollard to put on a baseball cap, but that's a different issue. Now, just saying that, let's make a comparison to what I saw. Again, I'm not saying all of Pearl River is this one person. I think most people in Pearl River are just nice, normal people, and they're not, bigots or anything. And I think, and I understand also people who want to preserve their community in a specific way. I mean, I am fully supportive of the movement, for example, to turn Pearl River into a village, but the thing is that there's this same movement to disenfranchise people by dissolving villages and by getting rid of villages, and it's really getting rid of federalism by getting rid of villages. I'm not saying every place in New York State has to be a village, but I'm saying that the freedom that a village is to have some self-determination. Again, not about excluding certain types of people, but maintaining a certain. It's not really maintaining a certain way of life, but maintaining self-determination of the residents. Meaning, that's why often there's this push when things are going away that people don't like to try to dissolve villages in order to take away freedoms from the local people. But let's move away from there for now. Let's go back to just this one comparison, because I have to go. I have to go to my next unit in about 7 minutes. What happens when somebody walks into a grocery store who's not Hasidic, who's not Jewish, in New Square, Monsey, Kiryas Joel? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nobody ever says anything to them. Maybe little kids might stare, but I think at this point they don't anymore, and their parents will probably tell them don't stare. That's the worst that could happen, and I want to prove that. And it's not to say there aren't lunatics there too. I mean, there was Chabad. They send their missionaries around. So one of their missionaries was attacked in Kiryas Joel by a person who doesn't live in Kiryas Joel, and an extremist in the Troy Karta person. And the actual Kiryas Joel residents came to his rescue, bought him new clothes because this attacker threw paint on him or something, and bought all of his books also, and made him feel really good. And I'm not saying that this crazy person who came from Monsey represents Monsey in any way, but Monsey is a very homogeneous Jewish community. It's not as heterogeneous as Kiryas Joel, when Kiryas Joel is more homogeneous than New Square, but it's just talking sociology right now. But I saw something that I didn't see with my own eyes, but I heard about. But I saw something that to me is extremely beautiful and uplifting to me, and shows how wonderful a community Kiryas Joel is, and how accepting and tolerant a community is Kiryas Joel of outsiders who are just living their own lives. I saw Be'enai Re'isi, with my own eyes, maybe people weren't sure if she was a boy or girl, I don't know. She was not wearing a yarmulke, but she was wearing tzitzis, a talis cotton, on top of her clothing. Now, if you know anything about Orthodox Judaism, particularly ultra-Orthodox Judaism, it's not customary for women to wear the talis cotton, the tzitzis. Now, this is a garment. The talis is worn by most Jewish groups, Orthodox and heterodox. The talis gadol, the prayer shawl, But the talis katan, which is worn all day, is generally only worn. Not even all Orthodox men wear it. The ultra-Orthodox generally do. More and more of the modern Orthodox haven't, but many don't. It's not considered an obligatory thing. And very few of the conservative and probably an insignificant amount of Reform Jews wear this garment. Some do. So there are a very small minority of women in the world who wear this garment, because among the ultra-Orthodox, I would say, if any women wear it, it's an insignificant number, just as much as the number of Reform Jews who do wear it, both men or women. But again, there are individuals of all different kinds and all different, in all different communities. In general, it's frowned upon, even though it's not exactly a prohibition according to the vast majority of opinions, although there are opinions that it is an actual prohibition. But it's out of the norm and somewhat offensive in a community like Kiryas for a woman to openly wear a garment like this. If she wanted to wear it as part of her relationship to God, she could wear it as most Orthodox men do, who are not Hasidic, under the garments, hidden, that nobody sees. It's only really the Hasidic who wear it, for the most part, not only Hasidic, but mostly, who wear the garment on top of their clothing, and others, many will wear the tzitzis exposed, hanging out from underneath their clothing, but not the garment necessarily. But this woman, she's wearing the garment on top of her clothing, which is something that you would assume would be offensive. It's certainly an evocative thing to do, to come into community like this and dress like this, and nobody said anything to her. Now, perhaps if she was from that community and doing that, someone would say something, but probably in a polite way. But this is an outsider, not from that community. Nobody said anything, not good or bad. Nobody is not, because everyone realized it's none of your business if she wants to wear tzitzis or not. And if they were educated enough, they know it's not a sin either. But they're really aware of the halacha there. It's accepted. There's an opinion in the Targum Targum Yarnison that would seem to indicate that it's an actual isser. It really depends more on the garment. To attach tzitzis to a woman's garment, most likely is not a problem. But some would say, certainly for a woman to wear a man's talis is an issue, but to make specifically talisos for women, it's something that's not necessarily done. It's considered mechzikiyura, it's considered an arrogant thing, but it's not considered a sin, according to most opinions. But that's neither here nor there. But the point is, this is what was going on in the community there, in the grocery store, in front of everybody. Nobody said a word to her. I said hello. I said, where are you from? She said, in Goshen. She was visiting a friend of hers in Goshen. She was staying there for a while, and that was it. A community not far who has some ties to the community there. My point is that show me an instance. I'm not talking about someone who grew up in the community who left. I'm not talking about issues of people who are being antagonistic, whether from outside the community or inside the community. I'm talking about or even people who are inside the community but have political arguments. Again, there's no justification for violence. It happens sometimes, and it's unfortunate, and it's wrong, and it's been condemned by all the rabbinical leaders on both sides. But there are lunatics, that's neither here nor there. But can you tell me an example? Everyone says, well, what happens when a non-Jew comes? There are non-Jews who work there. A lot of folks who wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for these communities, Kiryas Joel, Who's Square, Monsey, these places. So don't tell me what happens when a non-Jew walks into these communities. I mean, there are plenty of non-Orthodox Jews who, when it comes to holidays and they want to have, even if they don't keep kosher all year, they want to have kosher food for the holidays or something, or they want traditional foods, and they come to shop there, and they're welcomed. I mean, don't give me this. What happens until you show me a proof? And then again, I'm not talking about a case. If that guy who wanted to go to the restaurant, if he would have just shown the police officer his ID, the story would have ended there. He specifically didn't, so that's his problem, Alright, so I don't really want to hear a story like that. If there is one, I condemn it. If there is a negative story that you could tell, but I don't think you can find an equal story of someone not Jewish coming into Kiryas Joel and being told, "You're not welcome here. Get out of here." I mean, I've even though there's the signs that ask people to dress modestly, I've seen people who were not dressed modestly who were left alone. Nobody said anything to them. It's a request. It's not a, it's not a law, even though they could, as a village, they could put decency laws on the books and define decency. I mean, there were always decency laws. They could have different definitions of decency than other jurisdictions have. That's really their right as a village. But as far as I know, they don't, even though they probably could. Maybe the ACLU would make a case out of it, and that's why they don't. They just leave it alone. And they leave it as a suggestion. Technically, by the 10th Amendment, they absolutely could do that. That's what federalism is all about. That's why you have a village, that you can make your own village laws, and give someone a summons, if they violate local laws, but they, as far as I know, they didn't, beyond what's already on the books and the state laws. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's my message. That's my answer. Of course, I don't think all of Pearl River is colored by this one probably unstable individual. And there are a lot of nice folks there. I have no intention of moving there. If this person was, I just work nearby. I don't really have any intention of moving to Rockland County at all. I'm very happy in my little town in Sullivan County. If I get offered a job as a rabbi in a shul in Rockland County, I would move, but currently there was one that I had applied to some years ago, and about a year ago they hired somebody. But that's about it. Well, thank you for watching. God bless you. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm sorry if you're offended by what I said. My point was not to color the whole town, but I'm answering now to some of the things that were said there and some of the comments. All right, God bless you. Take care.